On YouTube, JamieTheKid00 here, coming to you guys with a tournament report for the first time in a while because I converted my last one into a deck profile of sorts. Today at locals, I ended up taking Evilswarm because I wanted to actually test the deck. I hadn't played it since it first came out, since long before Kirkion actually came out at our locals. So I figured I actually wanted to play it. I invested in the DT deck, so I figured it'd be a crime not to actually play it. I ended up taking 4th place, going X and 1 over 5 rounds, losing in round 2, I think it was. I can't honestly remember. I'll probably remember my matchups as I go through. I can't remember when it was. I know who it was too and what deck it was. I just can't remember if it was round 1 or round 2. I'm round 2 or round 3. I'm fairly sure it was round 2. Either way, I'm just going to be going into the deck list, and then afterwards I'll actually get into my my matchups. But as you guys know, if you've seen any of my tournament reports before, you know that I usually gibber about things as I go through the lists anyway. I gibber about how my matchups were, so you can usually gauge what my matchups were before I've even finished the video. So to start off with, 1 rabbit. I only ever had this dead once, and it was game 3 against Darkworld in the final round, my final game. I opened rabbit, 2 heliotropes. It was horrible, but otherwise rabbit was great. I sacked this a couple of times. I opened it twice. Rabbit was just good all round. Then we're going to move into the Evilswarms. 3 copies of Evilswarm Heliotrope. Heliotrope was just incredible all day. I didn't use Rabbit that often. I think I resolved it maybe 3 or 4 times during the whole day, and Heliotrope was just incredible on its own. Being a 1950 body, it can just kill so many things. It's just so relevant at having 1950. 3 Evilswarm Castor. This card was a joy to open in my opening hands, and I opened it kind of a shameful amount, I guess. I opened this card a lot, allowing me to make my my pretty cheap Xyz plays pretty quickly. There was one situation where I made it like I was really, really lucky, and I opened Castor, Mandragora, Kirkion, and I was able to go Castor, Mandragora. Special summon Mandragora, normal summon Castor, Xyz into Exciton Knight. Exciton gets bottomless, but I blow up my opponent's entire field anyway, and I then summoned Kirkion and made Ophion, so I was making Ophion with a large amount of set back row, including Infestation, Infection, and my opponent had just been Exciton, so it was incredible. So Castor is really good. The fact that this effect is lingering is so damn good. I then played 3 Mandragora. Mandragora is just really, really nice. I liked siding one of these out when I was going first, when I was going into game 3, or if I lost game 1. I like to side one out because they're so bad going first. Unless you draw a Castor, they're really bad going first. Their stat line is quite subpar, so you really don't want them going into that game, going first game. So that's why they were in there. I just sided one out for like an extra trap. I then played Triple Thunderbird. This card was a joy throughout the day. Literally, it did so much damage throughout games. It wasn't even funny. My opponents could not respond to this. If they did, they were going to have to either waste a card on it or double chain against it to try and kill it. And pretty much the only times it ever died was to a Fiendish Chain in a double chain, or it died to Skill Drain once. That was literally it. And then, otherwise, the only other Evilswarms I played were 3 copies of Evilswarm Kirkion, which was really, really good. Just because he's Kirkion and he's a free Xyz. I don't think I ever top decked him. I think I top decked him once actually in one of the games, but almost all the time he was very consistent in the fact that I could search him off of the trap card. Just the fact that the deck has access to him is crazy. And I've just dropped half my trap line up, so now I have to go pick that up. Yay! So give me a sec, guys. Technical problems be happening. There we go, now it's fixed. Right! And then the final monster I played was 1 Thunder King Riot. I felt that Thunder King was just an absolute shoo-in in a control-based deck. As I said in my my deck profile of this originally, you want to either open Ophion, Thunderbird, or Thunder King for back row. So Thunder King is a really, really good card to open. For those of you who saw the earlier deck profile of this, which was playing Tour Guides, I decided I wanted to play more spells and more traps. I wanted to main Dark Hole and Book of Moon. So I ended up cutting the Tour Guide engine, and I'm kind of glad I did. I do miss it. So like some of my plays were a bit bad because I was still playing as if I had it, but at the same time it wasn't that necessary to the deck, so the Tour Guide engine could be cut. It was more gimmicky than anything else. But that was the monster lineup. I believe it is 17 monsters. This is a 40 card deck. For the spells, 1 Dark Hole. I wanted to be able to clear board, and it was just good. Of course I sided out every time I went first because it doesn't serve you any purpose going first. It's just a bad card going first. So that was why it came out then, but otherwise it was pretty good. 1 Book of Moon is just really, really versatile. I like playing this in every deck that I have room for it in, but sometimes I like to play actual traps rather than the Book of Moon. but it's just a very solid card. One free reinforcement of the army. Evilswarm Castor is just really, really good. So why wouldn't we play a 4th Castor, basically? So Rota gets us to our Castor. One Allure. The amount of times I actually drew this dead was a surprising amount. I actually drew this a lot after I'd made a play, and I didn't have another Dark in hand. And I'd either have to set it or risk blind alluring, which was really, really bad. So I'd actually really consider how I feel about this card. And I know a lot of people swear by this card, but if you don't draw it until after you've made your plays, sometimes it just sits in your hand dead for a good while. Then for the multiples, I played Triple MST. I just really did not like Fiendish Chain in this deck. I really didn't like losing to Fiendish Chain with my Ophions, because of course the spell only protects your Ophion from it for 1 turn. And then it re-equips. I felt that MST was going to be a more permanent solution to that. And MST is just really solid against, as I say in every video, it's just really solid against the Tenkies, the Tensus, the Abyss Spheres. I really wanted to have a good matchup against Fire Fist. It's this deck's weakest matchup. So I put in the extra MST because I was playing 2 before. And I never played against Fire Fist, but the 3 MST was good in there anyway. And then the other spells I played were 2 Dress. I still swear by Dress. Dress was really, really strong. The fact that you can activate it in the damage step and protect yourself from Rykos, Fossil Diners, Snowman Eaters, things like that. 2 Dress is just really good. And then double Infestation Pandemic. There was only one time all day I wished I played the 3rd. Otherwise, I was really, really happy with 2. So I really have no complaints about that. So that's the spell lineup. And now that was 11 spells. And for the 12 card trap lineup, we have 1 Infestation Infection. I kind of wanted to play 2, but my other DT one hasn't arrived, and I didn't want to play the secret one on principle. I didn't want to play any secret Evilswarms in main deck, because I've got everything else. 1 was good, 1 was plenty throughout the day. It's just when you lose it, you're kind of like, oh, well, there goes that incredible card. I'm not going to be able to make another one now. The amount of times I wanted to Master Key Beetle to just protect this was crazy, but there were so many situations in which just Master Key Beetle wasn't the good play. It was, other cards were better, Ophion was better, so Infection was in here. It was really, really good under Skill Drain, actually, because there was a situation in which I activated Kirkion just to get me a plus back to my hand and then chain the Infection, so that I could add the Kirkion back to the deck and then search it with Infection, and then Kirkion would resolve because it is no longer on the field to be negated with Skill Drain, so it's crazy good like that. I then played double Safe Zone. I'm not sure how I feel about Safe Zone in this deck now. A lot of the time, I actually found myself using my safe zones on my opponent's monsters to destroy them. A lot of the time, these cards were just being set, waiting until I could get to an Ophion or a Master Key Beetle. And a lot of the time, my opponent would find an MST before I actually ended up using these. So my opponent would find an MST, activate it, and I just chain it on one of their monsters and kill it. This was really, really good in the Harpy matchup. This is actually one of the best cards in this deck in the Harpy matchup, because of the fact that you can just have this set, they go into a Harpy monster, they hunting ground this, and you go chain, and they lose their monster. It's basically like playing a couple of trap holes against the Harpy deck. I played double Fiendish Chain. I cut down from 3 to 2, kind of because I wanted to play more like battle traps. I wanted to play an extra Mirror Force. I'm not sure if I was playing 3 Mirror Force in my other list, but I ended up cutting down, and I didn't really miss the 3rd one too much. I could see myself putting the 3rd one in if I went to a more meta-based event where I'm expecting to see more Fire Fist. But for now, 2 Fiendish Chain was alright. I didn't really suffer for not playing the 3rd. I played double D-Prison, because D-Prison is just really, really good at the moment. I played against a lot of graveyard-oriented decks, so Prison's good. Double Mirror, because, hey, Mass Destruction is kind of good. And then I played 3 one-offs in the form of Bottomless, Torrential, and Warning. So that was the complete main deck. For the extra deck, I played 1... Sorry about the crunching around in the background, I have a guest. For the extra deck, I played 1 Bahamut. Bahamut was really, really good and stole me 2 games today. One of the things he took was the Zen mains off of a Dark World player that I was playing against, and I managed to push through him because I didn't really have an accurate way to get around his Zen mains, because I wasn't playing Black Ship, because I don't like Black Ship in this deck. So I ended up taking his Zen mains, and then against a Noble Knight player, I was able to do that, the play I talked about earlier, where I made, where I was able to special summon Mandragora, normal summon Castor, make Exiton, blow away his Excalibur, because which here doesn't re-equip. Excalibur doesn't re-equip from the graveyard like all the other Noble Arms do. So I was able to blow away his Excalibur and his face down back row, just in case it was a trap. And then I was able to then summon my Kirkion, and make a Kirkion play, make Bahamut take his Sacred Artorigus, and it was dumb. It was just so dumb. So Bahamut was invaluable, but I never ended up needing a second. I rarely needed the one, but when I did make the one, it was game winning. So Bahamut, still my favourite Evilswarm, still such a potent card. I then played Triple Ophion. I never actually made a third, but there were situations in which I definitely considered it. I feel that the third is only that great if one of them's been stopped from searching anyway, because if you search, they're usually their survivability goes up a huge amount, but if one of them gets Fiendish Chained, that one is basically null and void, so the third one will come in handy. But the only time one of my Ophions I ended up getting Fiendish Chained, I had the MST to it, so it basically never got Fiendish Chained. And then for a few more of the Evilswarm one-offs, I played one Ouroboros, which I never made, one Thanatos, which I never made because I never played against Fire Fist or anything that was going to destroy my monsters with effects, except Dark One. I didn't like Thanatos against that. And then I played one Evilswarm Nightmare as a last-minute shoe-in. I was playing Dargusto Emerald and took out the Emerald for this. And this card single-handedly won me a game against Harpies, because this card is great. And for those of you who don't know what Nightmare does, actually, I'm going to read it, because I lost to this at Nationals. When your opponent special summons a monster or monsters, you can detach one Xyz material from this card, change that special summon monster or monsters to face-down defense position. So this card is great. Against Harpy Channeler, you can flip the card that they summon with the Channeler face down. Against Hysteric Party, you can flip all the monsters they summon face down. So this card basically can't lose to the special summons. And that's basically all the deck relies on to make its big power pushes. Harpy Channeler, Egotist, and Party, which are 3 cards this deck can respond to. So this card can respond to. And it was crazy, because I ended up making Ophion Nightmare, and my opponent basically couldn't do anything. And then I ended up backing it up with a Thunder King as well, and I just won that game. That was how I beat Harpies game 3. I was in a pretty dire grind, and I knew that he'd just resolved a sign, and he had Channeler Queen, Dancer in hand, so I couldn't set any of my back row because they were going to get danced away, because they were like Fiendish Chain, so if my Fiendish Chain got hit, I lost, basically. They're just really bad back row for the situation, battle traps and whatnot. So I just made Nightmare and said, go for it. If you draw an out, you draw an out, but you can't beat my Nightmare with what you have in hand. So I just won from there. It gave me the foothold for what I needed. And then otherwise, the only other Evilswarms I played were double Exiton Knight. I actually made 2 once today, and I made one game 1 almost every single match, turn 1. Every time I had a Castor, a Mandragore, a Castor, another Evilswarm, and the protection spell or a dress, and my opponent, or an MST, and my opponent had set 3 to 4 back row and a monster, I was just like, Exiton is going in. Exiton is going in right now. And so many times it resolved, so many of my game 1s were won just because I was like, oh, I guess I gained massive advantage now. And I actually got so trigger happy, and I'll say this in this video, I actually got so trigger happy with Exiton. I was playing against Dark Worlds, and I made it turn 1, game 1, and it actually ended up losing me the game because I miscounted the number of cards in his hand. I made it turn 1, game 1, and he was actually equal to me, and I couldn't activate it, and I lost. Because I got absolutely hammered from there, but I never made that mistake again, but it was so good otherwise. And then I've got to speed this up because we're running out of time already. For the rest of my guys, I played 1 Master Key, which I never made, 1 101, which I never made, 1 Direwolf, which I never made, 1 Dweller, which I never made, 1 Cowboy, which actually won me a game. I put my opponent to 750 and then Cowboyed for game. And then 1 Maestroke. This was another last minute put in. This was what I put in instead of some of the tour guide targets. And this went in last minute because just because I really like Maestroke, and it ended up winning me a game against Noble Knights because he had a Noble Knight with loads of Noble Arms on it. He had a Boars, I think, with loads of Noble Arms on it, but no Excalibur, so it wasn't protected from targeting effects. So I just made Maestroke, flipped it face down, and just went kill. And that was how I beat that Noble Knight game, and Maestroke was just really good, and I'm glad I put it in, because there were so many of my last minute choices which won me games today. And then for the side, I played Double Crow for all those Dragon, Dark World, and some Fire Fist matchups, and Fire King, and banishing Wolfbark targets is pretty cool, and Dragon targets. Triple Maxi, I never had to put these in because there was never a deck I wanted to put Maxi in against. 1 Dimensional Fissure was the only spell I sided, accompanied with the Macro and the Soul Drain for the banishment. Anything that relies on its graveyard was just not going to work against me, even though I didn't see any of them against Dark World. The 1 Eradicator, because I wanted to be degenerate. The 2 DNA Surgery for Noble Knights, Bujin, and Prophecy, which I know I didn't actually play against anything but the Noble Knights. I put them in against the Noble Knights, but I never saw them. Double mistake for anything that's searched more than I do, which is most things. I never actually saw one, and I never resolved one, even though I cited it in quite frequently. And I then played Double Dust Tornado in the side, and I saw these quite a bit. I saw these against the Harpy player a fair amount. And, hey, having a couple of these set to blow away your opponent's back row and then go for your game push is pretty damn good. It's pretty silly, but it's pretty damn good. But that brings us to the end of this tournament report. My pairings are going to be in the description below. I'm fairly sure I lost to Agents, T.G Agents, which is kind of a surprising loss. Round 2, and I won every other match, at least 2-1 or 2-0. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed. I hope you guys have enjoyed this review of the deck. If you want to check out my earlier version, please check out my channel for my other Evilswarm deck profile. And I've had a lot of fun with this deck. It's actually been surprisingly good. I'm actually really happy with it. Otherwise, I think that's about everything I wanted to talk about. I hope you enjoyed this tournament report. I think it's Tournament Diary 57. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time with some more Yu-Gi-Oh! Related content. This is me, Jamie the Kid 00. Peace out. Bye-bye.